Welcome back to another episode of Stacking Dennys. I'm Jordan McAbee of RotoBaller. My co-host Nick Giffen of the Action Network. Team Penske does it again. It's playoff time. It's a short, flat track, and Penske brought the speed to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Ryan Blaney getting the win, leading 116 of the 301 laps. Pole sitter and his teammate Joey Logano led 147 laps. He finished fourth, and then Josh Berry for Wood Brothers Racing potentially had the best car in that race, but another Team Penske car essentially finishes second. William Byron splits him up, gets his first top 10 finish at New Hampshire in his career, finishes third. Chase Elliott coming home fifth. But Ryan Blaney locks himself into the round of 8. We did not see a Christopher Bell domination like we potentially thought could happen heading into the race weekend last weekend. And really, Toyota overall looked off. Legacy Motor Club looked god-awful. Joe Gibbs Racing struggled for most of that race. 6th place for Christopher Bell was probably the best he ran for most of that day. Chase Briscoe's the only other Toyota inside the top 10. Michael McDowell, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson were also in the top 10 with those Chevys. But yeah, Toyota off, but Team Penske brought the speed. Nick, what'd you think of that race? Because not many people liked it.
I'm surprised. I really liked the race. I thought the racing was good. You could pass for the lead. You could pass in the field. Tires mattered. They didn't matter a ton, but they mattered, right? There was fall off by 1 second over the course of, what was it? Over the course of around 40 to 50 laps, the tires were falling off by a second. We saw Chase Elliott unable to hold on to the lead. Yeah, I mean, he had the Penske's behind him, but not able to hold on to the lead on slightly older, 15, 16 lap older tires, and fell back to 5th, even getting passed by his own teammate, William Byron. So I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed the race. I thought it was a good race, but I'm just me, right? I have my own opinion, and I always thought New Hampshire was good racing. You could run the high line. You could run the low line. We saw Brad Keselowski smash the inside wall and cause a huge wreck.
Yeah, going 5 wide doesn't work at New Hampshire.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it was 75-25 in Gluck's poll, so it's not that bad. The only issue was the only issue was the TV ratings were low. 1.2 million viewers is less than the IndyCar finale got. So that was the kind of the news of the week as far as New Hampshire goes. And of course, the other news of the week being Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs.
Yeah, that is, you just read my mind because I was like, we need to talk about this. So Denny Hamlin, Ty Gibbs. And I thought Steve Letarte did a good job of breaking it down because he essentially said, he understands both sides of the story, and he thought if they were racing for the top 5, he'd understand Ty Gibbs' side more. But at the same time, you don't really like to hear championship drivers being like, everybody needs to get out of my way and let me pass. Teammates, it could be a little bit more give and take when it comes to teammates. But Denny Hamlin dumped Ty Gibbs and, over just because, Gibbs was blocking him and running him hard for 10, 15 laps while they were running like 11th and 12th. And I'm sure like the frustrations of Denny Hamlin not running his typical race at New Hampshire probably helped escalate that. But yeah, this is the first time we've heard a driver, or we've heard a Joe Gibbs Racing driver publicly say something bad about, the golden child or the silver spoon kid, Ty Gibbs, because, Hamlin got on the radio during that and was like, can they even talk to him, or are they afraid to talk to him? And obviously Joe Gibbs hasn't said anything. They said they're going to handle it internally, but it's, what's going to happen next week if Ty is still pissed off? Is he going to pay back Hamlin and dump him while he's?
He is pissed off. Did you see the Instagram repost or whatever he made with a finger pointing to, whatever it was? I have to find the exact Instagram thing, but Ty Gibbs basically made an Instagram repost pointing out how it was going to be hard for Denny to win the championship.
Really?
Yeah.
Could you imagine Ty Gibbs like dumping Hamlin at Phoenix and stopping Hamlin from getting his championship?
Yeah, I know. That'd be ridiculous. But okay, here it is. Ty Gibbs reposted this on his Instagram story with a finger emoji pointing towards the words, is that the moment that derails Denny Hamlin's 2025 championship?
Wow. You have to think that if he does anything, he's getting a heavy suspension from NASCAR because that's like premeditated stuff, right?
And it's championship manipulation.
Yeah.
But we know he doesn't give a shit about his own teammates, as we saw with Brandon Jones in Xfinity. Literally took the guy out of a chance of running for playoffs and championships and things like that on his own teammate for no reason other than to just be an ass. So he doesn't care if the Gibbs name gets a championship unless it's himself.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild because, your grandfather gets the trophy if Denny Hamlin wins the title, but apparently you don't even want that to happen. And Joe Gibbs basically sided with Ty indirectly in the post-race interview saying, I'm going to let the drivers handle it. So instead of saying, no, we'll have a discussion or whatever, it's up to the drivers. And clearly we know what Ty Gibbs' head is at. So Joe Gibbs is, not great with these things. He'll always just cede to his family.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting move by Hamlin because Hamlin, I would say he's getting more fans, but a lot of people don't like Denny Hamlin. Mm-hmm. And even more people dislike Ty Gibbs. So in a way, this is helping Hamlin's popularity because, if he gets into this little feud with Ty Gibbs, more fans are going to side with Hamlin than they will Gibbs because I would estimate that Ty Gibbs is one of the most hated drivers in the series when it comes to the fans.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Denny Hamlin certainly has endeared himself to several more fans than he used to have, I would say, over the past couple of years with his Actions Detrimental podcast, with suing NASCAR, etc. Mm-hmm. So, if anything, this might make him gain more fans, and then potentially even more if Ty Gibbs decides to take him out for a championship, and then all of a sudden you get the sympathy points there for being cheated out of a championship. So yeah, interesting.
Another team that had a good race was Hendrick Motorsports. We talked about them extensively last week. I was raising the question whether they would continue struggling into the playoffs. You said that they had nothing to worry about. 3 in the top 7 were Hendrick Motorsports cars at the end of the race, including William Byron, who, like I said, first top 10 finish in New Hampshire with a solid podium finish there, 3rd place in both stages. You mentioned Chase Elliott there, finishing 5th. Couple other guys with good runs. Carson Hocevar finished 5th in both stages. He ended up finishing 11th at the end of the day, which, he's always one of those drivers that could be a surprise every weekend. And let's see here. 2311 struggled a bit, especially Bubba Wallace. He finished 26th. Tyler Reddick had a decent first half of the race, finished 9th in stage 1, but that's because he started 4th. He ended up finishing 21st. And let me see here. Oh, SVG looked really good at the start of the race before he got dumped.
Yeah. All of Chevy looked really good. SVG, AJ Allmendinger, Haley, Michael McDowell, and those Spire cars. So those secondary Chevy teams looked really good. SVG was moving forward. Allmendinger was moving forward. McDowell was running in the top 10. And then Haley fell back a little bit early from his 21st starting spot, but then moved back up partway through the race. And I believe ended up having an okay finish. Let's see. Yeah, McDowell finished 8th. AJ Allmendinger finished 20th, but ran better. Obviously, SVG had the incidents. And Justin Haley, I don't know what happened to him. He finished 33rd, but he was actually running pretty well for a good chunk of that race. So a lot of the secondary Chevys were doing a good job there.
Do you think, was this a statement race by Team Penske? We've seen this before where they come and the playoffs come around and they bring it. Was this a statement race? Do you think that this race just showed that if Joey Logano or Ryan Blaney or Austin Cindric, for that matter, make it to, probably not Cindric, but make it to Phoenix, that they are definitely the ones to beat?
Yes, because of the fact that they've been the ones to beat the last couple of years, and now all of a sudden they figured it out at New Hampshire over Christopher Bell, right? We talked about how the Penske's were awesome. Hendrick Motorsports was awesome, but what we didn't talk about is how bad the Toyotas were at New Hampshire. Bell led the way in 6th as we expected, but we usually expect him to be 1st or 2nd at New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Right. And then everybody else got shifted. All the other Toyotas got shifted back as a result. Bubba Wallace 26th, Tyler Reddick 21st, those 2311 cars. You look at Denny Hamlin only had a 12th place run. Chase Briscoe only a 10th place run when they were running 1st and 2nd at Gateway, at Iowa, those kinds of things. So, it was a really struggle kind of day for Toyota as a whole. And then even John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones, who I was on midweek, were just backmarker cars.
Completely out to lunch.
Completely backmarker cars. So Toyota missed something. As a whole manufacturer, they missed something. And or Chevy, Ford found something. And really a lot of it was the tire test that Joey Logano did. They were really confident in that. And that confidence carried over to absolutely being the dominant team. So you got to make them a little bit of a favorite. I still think in Phoenix, if it's Blaney and Bell head to head straight up for a championship, I'm making it a coin flip. Maybe a slight edge now to Blaney, whereas maybe I had it a slight edge to Christopher Bell before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is once again though it's Penske coming around at the playoffs and yeah, I'm with you. Like it's hard to bet against Bell at Phoenix with how good he has been there, but Penske's going to definitely have something to say if they make it. And obviously, even if they don't make it, they should have good cars. But this is a good sign or a good example of how things change in NASCAR from a week-to-week basis. So last week, obviously, there's a completely different track styles between Bristol and New Hampshire. But week to week, Ty Gibbs, Chase Briscoe, they were the strongest cars at Bristol, led 320 laps. And then we go to New Hampshire, and Toyota, like you said, as a whole, was just completely not good. And and now we head to Kansas, where 2311 has always been really good, but they've been out to lunch at Kansas for the last few races. Joe Gibbs Racing might struggle some more at Kansas, and we haven't been to a 1.5 mile track since Charlotte in May. So it is going to be a very telling race once again in the second race for the round of 12 at Kansas this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's this whole playoffs. And actually, I did want to point out one other thing, Jordan. You know how in the next gen car, we've talked about track history being so important?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of wasn't this past weekend at New Hampshire.
That's true.
The Toyotas struggled. We look at Bristol, kind of wasn't with Kyle Larson being so strong and then not really being that strong at Bristol and some of these other. If we talk about Darlington, kind of wasn't. We've suddenly hit a train where track history has become less important. Maybe like Indy it was. Obviously Bubba Wallace very strong, but even stronger than we expected. And Kyle Larson struggling, he did well at Indy, but William Byron struggling and things like that. So we're transitioning a point where track history is, for whatever reason, over the last 8 or so races, not counting like Watkins Glen and Daytona, become a little less important. Richmond it was, obviously, Austin Dillon. But all of a sudden in the playoffs here, track history is not meant as much. So going into Kansas is going to be a really interesting one because we'll talk about that as well, obviously, as we always talk about the current race, but tire changes and once again, and then the Roval, we only have 1 year of track history on the current layout of the Roval, but we all expect SVG to just dominate anyway. So, and we haven't run at 1.5 miles since Charlotte, literally 18 races ago. So it's going to be very interesting to see if track history matters at Kansas or not, and at some of these other tracks going forward, because in the playoffs, it kind of hasn't.
Yeah. And there's so many variables, as we get into this far of the year, not to mention the time between similar tracks, but if teams or organizations were testing earlier in the year at these tracks, we don't really know what they're going to bring to Charlotte to Kansas until they get on track this weekend. And that's where it is. I mean, we saw it last year. Like Kyle Larson's won 2 of the last 3 Kansas races, but he was not that good in this playoff race at Kansas last year. Yeah. So we see these guys. I agree with you. Like, me, I'm big on the, if it happened before, it's going to happen again with this next gen car a lot. But with these playoffs, it brings a different aspect to it. it throws some wrenches in it, and we do see everything change from week to week, and that just makes it I feel like sports books are doing a very good job at setting odds for these races in the playoffs so far, because we're not finding a ton of value out there, like, you know, as we were in the middle of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there is some unpredictability in these races built in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the unpredictability gets more predictable once we see practice and qualifying, and books have not done a good enough job of adjusting post-practice and qualifying. And where has practice flags kick the shit out of New Hampshire, by the way. My optimal lineup from my simulations, like on Fantasy Labs, would have finished third in the big GPP.
Jesus.
And my flags was like so correlated with speed in the race, not necessarily finishing position, because there was some incidents and things like that, but just in raw speed, practice flags kicked shit out of New Hampshire. But the place that kicked the shit out of most this year was Kansas. And we're coming back to Kansas this week. So I haven't made many bets earlier this week for Kansas. And I'm not trying to get ahead of ourselves and talk Kansas, but I'm just saying, as a grand scheme of things from books, like you said, doing a really good job of setting early week lines, it's been post-practice and qualifying where I've really kicked ass lately.
You have anything else from New Hampshire before we move on to the playoffs overall?
No, not really. I think I got the points I wanted to get, which was flags, the shift in team and manufacturer dynamics, just from, you know, the track history standpoint of things as well. So I think we got everything covered.
All right, so playoff standings now after one race in the round of 12. I'm very interested in 3 of the 4 guys that are currently below the cut line. Ross Chastain won this race at Kansas last year. He's currently 12 points below the cut line. 2311 has been great at Kansas, and both Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace are quickly finding themselves pretty far below the cut line, where they could be in a must-win situation at the Roval next week. Reddick's 23 points below the cut line. Bubba Wallace is 27. I'm kind of skipping over Austin Cindric because I feel like he just missed out on his opportunity to really kind of make a move in these playoffs. He's probably a shoe-in to be eliminated this round. But we've seen 2311 be really good here at Kansas. I would not be surprised if Tyler Reddick wins this race. I would not be surprised if Bubba Wallace wins this race. And like I said, Ross Chastain won this race last year. Ryan Blaney is good. He's in the round of 8. He got that win. William Byron, after his good run, he's plus 47. Larson is plus 41. They have to be feeling great heading into Kansas. You know, barring a huge issue here at Kansas, they're going to feel really good going into the Roval. They might even lock themselves in by then. Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano are all 29, 27, and 24, respectively, points above the cut line. And then Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, 14 and 12. So they're getting a little bit closer. Bell has to probably feel pretty good. Probably Hamlin as well. Logano, you know, Penske has kind of struggled at mile and a half, but we saw him win Las Vegas at the end of last year to get into Phoenix. So it's not like Penske can't turn things on and play some games when they need to get to win these races. But how are we feeling about 2311? Are they hitting the panic button heading into Kansas? Is this
be
this a must win for this organization if they want to keep going?
They don't need to win, but they need a whole lot of stage points and some top 5s. You know, they need a big day at Kansas at a track they used to be good at, and then all of a sudden the last year and a half or so fell off. So, you know, 2022, 2023, they were fantastic at Kansas. 2024, 2025, not good at Kansas. So I don't know what changed there, but they need to recapture the magic or they're in big trouble. You know, maybe especially Bubba Wallace, but even Tyler Reddick, like we talked about it last week. I eliminated him. But you know, when we gave our eliminations, because he hasn't quite been what he needs to be at road and street courses as well, or Rovals, you know, that kind of thing, that kind of discipline where you also turn right. So yeah, they're in trouble. They need a big day at Kansas, or you can probably kiss both of them goodbye.
What's interesting, so Kansas, we've had 7 races with this next-gen car. Larson has 2 wins. He's won 2 of the last 3 spring races, including this year. Tyler Reddick has a win. Bubba Wallace has a win. As we said, 2311 used to be good here. Chastain won last year. Hamlin has a win, and then the other win was Kurt Busch. When it comes to average finish at Kansas in the next gen era, the Fords aren't that great. Ryan Blaney's at 9.7, which is decent. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth best among active drivers, but Logano struggles a little bit here. And then, Cindric. So those are the four guys. Like, I'm not really worried about Byron, Larson, Bell, Hamlin, but I feel like this is just such a huge race for Logano, Chastain, Reddick, and Bubba. Like I said, especially the 2311 guys. But heading into the race weekend, I believe Kyle Larson is the favorite heading into this weekend. I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, Larson's favorite.
Okay. And I think we're both on the same page that he probably should be, right?
Yeah, you got to make him the favorite at these 1.5-mile tracks, especially Vegas and Kansas, where he's been the dominant car. I mean, led the most laps, won stage 2 at Las Vegas, led the most laps, won stage 1 and stage 2 and the race, and got the fastest lap at Kansas, the perfect sweep. Also started on the pole. Literally a perfect day for Kyle Larson at Kansas the last time we were here.
Mm-hmm. FanDuel, he is plus 380. Next is Hamlin at plus 600. Do you think Larson should be that heavy of a favorite, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, he's just head and shoulders above the field at this type of racing, and then like, honestly, you might be able to make a case for Byron being second, right? Byron, mm-hmm. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, most laps led at Charlotte, finished second, but Charlotte is kind of more towards Kansas, especially more so than Texas. And we've seen William Byron run really well at Las Vegas, run really, really well at Kansas in the past. So you can honestly make a case that Byron should be second in the odds over Denny Hamlin or over Ryan Blaney.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned Charlotte, and like we said, it's been a while since that race, but you remember who won that race?
Ross Chastain, World 600.
Ross Chastain, yep. Same guy that won here at Kansas last year. So there's going back to that was the race that Larson wrecked out of. Chastain started dead last, but made his way and got the win at the end. Byron dominated for most of it, led 283 of the 400. Chase Briscoe's on the pole, finished third. Let's see. Kansas, as far as similar tracks, you mentioned Las Vegas. That is definitely the most similar track. What would you rank second most similar when it comes to Kansas for you?
Charlotte, and then Michigan and Texas are kind of like backups. Maybe a little bit of Nashville as a backup, but strongly Las Vegas, and then next tier Charlotte in its own tier, and then tier 3, I guess, comp would be Michigan and Texas, and tier 4 comp would be Nashville. Mm-hmm. You can pull in a little bit of the Darlington Homestead type stuff too, just because Kansas is now a medium wear tire track. And it's got pretty decent banking, 17 to 20 degrees. So you get that variable banking, especially like Homestead has. So I don't hate pulling in a little bit of Homestead as well, even more so than Darlington. So, Homestead might join that tier, whatever I said, 3 or 4 as well.
Mm-hmm. As far as non-playoff drivers, any guys you have your eyes on this weekend? I know you made a bet on one of them. Definitely agree with that bet.
I consider Alex Bowman a playoff driver, even if you get eliminated from the playoffs, because he was a playoff driver. But yeah, Alex Bowman, love him here. I mean, if you just look at him in Kansas and the next gen car, I think he's had a top 7 every time or top 10 every time. So let's see.
I mean, even you go back to last
4th, 9th, 4th, 10th, 7th, 6th, and 5th.
Yeah, and even before that, you go the last 13 races, he's finished 11th or better every single time.
Yeah, this is a good track for him. And he's won at Las Vegas, finished 3rd at Las Vegas in 2023, finished 5th at Las Vegas last year in the playoffs. So when he's not DNFing He's crushing Las Vegas and Kansas. DNFs happen to everybody. He did have that 18th at Vegas in 2024. That was a non-DNF, but that's like the exception to the rule for Alex Bowman in the next gen era.
Mm-hmm. I know you grabbed him for a top 10 finish at plus 150. I'm sure that line is long gone, but DraftKings does have it at plus 120.
Yeah, I gave it out at plus 120 on Running Hot because that's what it was when I recorded earlier today. So plus 120, still totally fine. As long as you get a plus in front of that number, I think it's fine given his, record at these tracks. I mean, all but 3 races or something in the next gen era at Vegas and Kansas, all but 2. 1 DNF and 1 18th at Vegas. But other than that, he's finished top 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very solid track for Alex Bowman. Let me see here. Some other guys that have had decent runs, looking a little further down the list of drivers, guys that have decent runs at 1.5 miles this year that I kind of have my eyes on. I like to look at the underdogs. Noah Gragson finished 10th at Charlotte this year, and he has a decent record here at Kansas Speedway. And another reason that I was looking at Gragson before this podcast was because I still have him available in 36 for 36. So I was kind of looking at that. And then Zane Smith had a really good race here in the spring, finished 16th. He was top 10 in both stages. He also finished 10th here for Spire last year in 2024 in the playoff race.
I mean, Gilliland finished 12th. Zane's actually been the worst of the 3 at that, the 3 front row cars at the 3. Remember, we had 3 consecutive 1.5 miles. We had Texas, Kansas, Charlotte. Zane was the worst of the 3. Gilliland had finishes of 11th, 12th, and 18th. Noah Gragson had finishes of 10th and 14th in a DNF. And Zane was 16th and 17th in a DNF. So when they did not have a DNF, so when they did finish, 7 out of 7 starts finished between 10th and 18th. That's really good. But the problem is we're 18 races out now. We have a different tire compound. I shouldn't say compound. We have a different construction of the same compound, which is designed to force the drivers to balance top speeds with handling and wear, is what I think the quote was, something like that from Bob Baccaris or whoever it was. So I'm not convinced the speed is going to be the same. Could they be in testing mode in the playoffs? With not making the playoffs, could they just be trying shit out now? So they're a lean for me. I actually gave them out as my stage 2 pick on Running Hot as my lean. All of FRM top 10s are leans for me. I'm not betting them because there's a very different situation here with playoffs, with so many races of development of these cars and, time to study data, time to test and aerodynamic simulations and all that stuff. And the bigger teams, when there's more time, tend to do better. So I'm not convinced yet on Front Row Motorsports that I need to be betting their top 10s at Kansas, but they are a good lean for me. I'm waiting to see them in practice and qualifying because if they look good in practice and in flags, books have not been adjusting enough yet post-practice and qualifying, right? So there's no need to bet them right now when, okay, maybe instead of 7.5 to 1 on Zane Smith, you get 6 to 1. But if he's looking really good in flags, it's still going to be worth it at 6 to 1 or whatever it is. Gragson, I think, is at 9 to 1 at FanDuel and Gilliland 16 to 1. If I was
16 to 1.
If I was to bet any of them,
16.
I'd be betting Gilliland, but I haven't bet any of them yet.
No, you make a very good point because the only drivers that these books really shift their odds on after practice and qualifying are the big name drivers. Mm-hmm. We saw AJ Allmendinger. We've seen him qualify really good at tracks this year, and they just don't move his line for a top 10 after, even if he qualifies, top 5. I mean, he had one of the best cars at Charlotte, if you remember. He's had speed on the intermediates all season long. He could be. He's another one that I could bet right now, but at the same time, I don't want to.
On the flip side, we saw just this past week. We bet John Hunter Nemechek, or I did, and Eric Jones.
I did too.
And they looked like complete dog shit in practice. They were way down at the bottom of flags. They qualified like crap, and books had them even shorter after practice and qualifying.
Yeah.
So, huge WTF. So, just wait for post-practice qualifying. That I don't want to be betting on a guy who's going to end up. And obviously, I learned my lesson last week because books aren't, on betting Jones and those kinds of guys early. So I've learned it and I'm applying it this week. And I'm not betting these guys early because what if they look like dog shit? They might shorten anyway if we bet them early, and then books decide, oh, people are on them. We don't want to give them odds post practice and qualifying. So just waiting. There's too much that's going to change here, I think, from previous mile and a halves, or I shouldn't say will change, but have a better than normal chance of changing more drastically than we think, given we haven't run in a mile and a half in 18 races, given different tire stuff, given playoff testing, that I'm just not ready to kind of bite at this stuff yet.
Yeah, the only way that I really see them shifting odds majorly when it comes to these lower tier guys like the Front Row Motorsports is if they go out there and win the pole. But here's the thing, they're not going to go win the pole. Like Front Row doesn't win poles outside of super speedways. So I could see myself betting Zane or Gregson or Gilliland, especially at 16-1 right now, but I'm not jumping at it. I'm not sitting here like, yeah, I need to get on that because I know, there's still going to be good lines available after practice and qualifying. But the bigger name guys, they will shift. So like if Bowman goes out there and qualifies third, you're not going to be able to get him at plus 120 for a top 10. It's not even going to be close. So if you do want to bet certain things this week, I would lean more toward the higher name or the bigger name drivers and their odds.
Yep. Completely agree.
Let me see here. Yeah, we got Allmendinger plus 410. I just got FanDuel pulled off right now. It'd be interesting to see what the Spire cars do because you remember, Vegas the past couple years, Spires had good speed. You got McDowell for a top 10 at 11-1, Justin Haley at 16-1. Yep. Just another one of those things to keep an eye on, heading into this race weekend.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think the mid-tier Chevys could have another good race weekend. Carson Hocevar, Spire, like you said, Allmendinger.
Well, you remember
Trackhouse. I mean, Daniel Suarez finished second at Vegas earlier this year. I know, he's kind of out of the picture now, but yeah.
Vegas was a weird one earlier this year, but you remember who potentially had a race-winning car at Charlotte before his engine blew?
I don't remember.
Carson Hocevar.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we get similar speeds to, he finished fourth in stage 2 and third in stage 3, and that's after starting 39th, and they blew that engine. So, I'm very curious to see how speeds match this weekend compared to what we've seen earlier, just because it's been so long, and that's where it gets a little bit more difficult as well.
Yeah, exactly. But that's another thing, like all these mid-tier back half type drivers and teams, same thing. We don't need they're not going to be the ones that have massively drastic odd shifts. They could have some drastic, some odd shifts and, maybe end up not being values, but that flags data is going to be so much more valuable this weekend than I think a lot of weekends that I'm willing to just, even if I lose, 750 and I get 6-1, like I said on Zane Smith, but then all of a sudden I see him 11th in flags, feel a lot better about that than betting him plus 750 and not seeing flags.
Now, what do you think about like someone like a Bubba Wallace, sitting at 25-1 to win this race? Is now the time to bet him? Because if he does show top 5 speed in practice and qualifying, those odds are going to plummet.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You're all of a sudden now you're betting against the track history because the track history lately has been bad for not just him, but also Tyler Reddick. They went from the best team in 2022 and 2023 Kansas to a literal mid-pack team, sometimes even below mid-pack, like slightly below average at Kansas on speed. And I don't know what happened. But, maybe some of it had to do with the Toyota body shift that started. I think it was after the 2023 or whatever season. So it could have to do with that, the body shift, and they just haven't been able to get it on this current body of Toyota that they have. So I don't know. And Again, would I rather bet Bubba Wallace 25-1 right now, or see him be fast as shit and then bet him 16-1? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But you know me when it comes to early week betting, as far as like drivers to win, especially like with the amount of uncertainty that we have right now heading into this race for what we can reasonably expect this time of year. I'm fine. I am so fine with not having any bets going into practice and qualifying.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at
last week. You said the big name drivers will adjust. Look what happened last week with Chase Elliott. He practiced amazing, but he qualified in the 20s, whatever, back half of the 20s. All of a sudden, he was just monster value right after practice and qualifying. I snapped him up at FanDuel, plus 150 for a top 10, plus 500 for a top 5. We'll get something like that this week, where somebody's going to look fast as shit in practice, have a bad qualifying lap, and we'll open up his value in that playoff type driver tier.
Here's an interesting
at a track you can pass that. I'm sorry. That's so much even more important. Elliott got some track position at the end. He was still really good. Like, he moved through the field. They even did a mid-race thing with Elliott at one point where he was running some of the fastest laps late in the run. So, it'll be even easier at Kansas to move your way through the field.
Yeah, we saw, and then we go back to Las Vegas earlier this year, which, like we talked about, is the most similar track. Penske brought speed that race. You remember Blaney, he was flying through the field, I think, multiple times before he got wrecked out. Josh Berry won the damn race, had the best driver rating in that race. Joey Logano was really strong in that race, ended up finishing 15th, but he led 40 laps. Austin Cindric might have been the best Penske car outside of, probably not over Blaney, but he was very strong. He won stage 1. He started 3rd, led 47 laps. He finished 6th. Again, like, there's just so many, from what we've seen this season, there are so many possibilities of what could end up happening this weekend. But at the same time, Hendrick Motorsports was one of the best days at Vegas earlier this year as well. Byron had a great car. Larson had a great car too.
Yeah. It just goes to show, like, even at one of the more predictable tracks right now, we're still talking about uncertainty, which I think is funny. We're talking uncertainty, but then you get a whole lot of certainty post-practice and qualifying. So I'm excited to just wait and bet this race. I made my one. I got in early on Bowman. Felt great about that. Still do. Now it's just waiting mode.
Yeah, I think if I'm going to bet anything, I'm going to join you there on that Bowman one, just because of, me and my track record ringing that bell. All right. Who have we not talked about yet that we need to for this race?
Well, I think something we haven't really talked about is these, and we kind of could have talked about it in the playoff section, but Buescher, Priest, Gibbs, and Keselowski and Hocevar, right? The next, and then Kyle Busch, that tier of drivers that are 17th through 22nd in the point standings. Buescher has a 56 point lead over Priest, and then Gibbs is 73 back of Priest. So we're not really talking about 17th in the championship standings, but that tier of drivers right there all can turn it on at different points. Kyle Busch is going to be losing his crew chief Randall Burnett postseason, who's going to be Connor Zilch's crew chief next year at Trackhouse. So a little lame duck situation there, but we did talk about Hocevar, but those RFK guys have been really good at Kansas. And Ty Gibbs is in a Joe Gibbs racing car, and he's in revenge fucking mode, fuck you all mode, right? So I kind of like that tier. Somebody from that tier is going to pop.
I agree with you, because if you remember back to Vegas, Keselowski actually had a really good car at Las Vegas. I think he had a tire issue or something happen. We mentioned Hocevar, how good he was at Charlotte, how he was good, very good at Vegas too. He finished top 10 in both stages. I think he might have had a tire issue too. And then Priest ended up finishing 3rd at Vegas. So
average there is definitely 5.0 between Vegas and Kansas. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we go to the first Kansas race this year. You mentioned Priest. He finished 7th. Buescher started 2nd. He finished 8th. Yeah, that tier is I would not be surprised to see any of them win it either. We talk about this. I feel like we're saying this pretty much every week. This race is kind of wide open. Like, yes, there's favorites and there's guys that should be the favorites, but you could make a case for, I don't know, half the field to win this race.
Mm-hmm. Maybe not quite half, but close to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think once you get through that, like Hocevar, RFK tier, you probably at that point have to stop. Like, I'm not really seeing Eric Jones, John Hunter Nemechek, Michael McDowell, AJ Allmendinger, Noah Gragson, Ricky Stenhouse winning, but I could see them contending for top 10s. Daniel Suarez might be the only one other than that who would have a chance to win, but he's in a super lame duck situation where his team doesn't even want to work with him now. But he's 250 to 1, and he finished second at Las Vegas? Third,
yeah,
whatever it was. I'm not saying bet Daniel Suarez to win, but if you want to talk about wide open, Trackhouse has had results at this track in the past. Daniel Suarez had result at Las Vegas earlier this year.
What do you think about, I touched on him a little bit. What do you think about Josh Berry this week?
I don't really have an opinion on him. That's kind of a cop-out. I don't know.
Finished 6th at Kansas earlier this year and obviously won Vegas.
Yeah,
I know.
I mean, he's going to be good. He's going to be good. I just, I don't know. Vegas is a little bit of an interesting situation with the strategy, right? Him, Suarez, and Preece all benefited from strategy. But they all also had speed where they were, if not top 5, they were back half of top 10 or early teens type speed, and then got track position. So, that's probably what I think of Josh Berry is back half of top 10, early teens speed. But that means you can put yourself in position to win. But I think the odds are reflected in that as well, where he's 40 to 1, right along where Ty Gibbs should be, right? I mean, I was at the Vegas race a couple years ago, last year, whatever it was, first Vegas race, where Ty Gibbs ran top 3 or 5 all race, aside from Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick. I think he was like one of the next best cars. So, Ty Gibbs can do it. It's just, does he end up putting it all together? Because he never has, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Especially
similar
now
for
that
Josh Berry.
red.
Josh Berry put it together, but a lot of it, Vegas, again, a lot of it was strategy based, and it seems harder to pass at Vegas than Kansas. Like, it's Kansas is easier to pass at than Vegas. So I don't think the Berry, Preece, Suarez strategy would have worked out as nicely at Kansas as it did at Vegas.
Yeah, the Vegas race this year was just, it was a weird one. After like the first stage, it just got really weird in how it all played out. That's the only way I can describe it, is it was just weird.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. Anybody else that you want to talk about here at Kansas?
Nah, I don't think, unless we get a shipbox special, I think we're good.
All right. We're going to move on to picks to win. Of course, the week that I picked Christopher Bell at his best track, or one of his best tracks. He finished 6th. I forgot to get this spreadsheet up quick. Forgive me. Okay, we both had Bell. So there's that. All right, it's your turn to go first this weekend for Kansas.
It's a tough one.
It is.
Because it's, like you said, it's so wide open. I'm going to go, I think I'm going to go with a driver that has been incredibly consistent here, which, already probably has you leaning Alex Bowman when I say that, but it's Chris Buescher.
Interesting. I did not expect that at all. But again, I would not be surprised. We're close. Average finish wise, you were at 12.79 this year. I'm at 13.17, so very close here. You went with Busher. I'm gonna go. We both had Larson the first Kansas race, and he won it. So let's. Okay. I'm gonna go. Give me heads or tails.
Tails.
Christopher Bell.
Nice. I was thinking Christopher Bell too.
I'm on a bit of a Christopher Bell kick right now. I'm trying to.
Who was your head? Who was the other one? Was it Briscoe?
Hamlin.
Hamlin.
Yep. Yeah, I picked Bell 3 of the last 4 weeks.
Nice.
I'm trying to will his championship this year.
For my full unit bet at 6.5 to 1 and an extra quarter unit at 8 to 1.
Yeah. I'm rooting for you. So when he wins it, you're welcome.
You just Jordan jinxed him.
I know,
asshole.
Right? All right, 36 for 36. John Hunter Nemechek picked a bad race for you to be out to lunch. 3 points from him for you. I had Joey Logano last week, got me 52. You and I only have one driver that we both have left, and that is AJ Allmendinger, which I think we're both using at Charlotte Roval, unless you decide to try to make up some points and use somewhere else there. But drivers remaining, you have Austin Cindric, Ryan Blaney, AJ Allmendinger, William Byron, Riley Herbst, and Daniel Suarez. Who are you going with for Kansas-2?
I think it's got to be either Byron or Suarez, given the spot here.
Mm-hmm.
Can't really trust Riley Herbst. Like you said, Allmendinger, we're both probably saving for the Roval. Blaney, we've got Martinsville and Phoenix. And the 2, I actually don't hate the 2. Cindric finished 6th at Vegas, 11th at Kansas. I don't hate that. He's a playoff driver. There's going to be some focus on him, but especially with Blaney winning, they don't need to focus on Blaney now. So they can put all their attention behind Cindric and Logano in that camp. But for me, it's like, where do I use Daniel Suarez? He's good at the 1.5 miles, so I'm going to take Daniel Suarez. If it's not a super speedway, I kind of need to use him here, and I probably am just going to use Riley Herbst at the super speedway.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, if you're using Suarez optimally, you're either going here or you're going the next Vegas race in 2 weeks. So,
yep.
Yeah, that's a solid pick. I have, all right, my drivers remaining are Noah Gragson and Zane Smith as my lower tier drivers, which I need to use one of them at Talladega, obviously. So I need to choose where to use the other one at. I'm going to use Allmendinger at Charlotte Roval. So then I got Briscoe, Bell, and Chase Elliott to use. So to me, it comes down to either Zane Smith or Noah Gragson here.
Mm-hmm.
Or I go Chase Elliott and then Zane Smith or Noah Gragson at Vegas. Give me. I'm going to go Zane this week. Yeah, I'm going Zane.
I might have just planned out the rest of my season.
Did you?
Yeah, might have. It depends. Depends a little bit on this week, but I might have just planned out the rest. Well, I mean, I've planned it out. There's probably 2 scenarios based off what happens this week.
That's kind of where I'm at too. Like, I know who I'm using. Like, I know I'm using Gragson at Talladega. I know I'm using Allmendinger at Roval, and then I'm pretty sure like Martinsville. Yeah, Martinsville, Vegas is either going to be Briscoe or Chase Elliott for me, and then I'm saving Bell for Phoenix. So the big question is whether you're gonna go Allmendinger at Roval.
I think I if I have a huge week this week, I think I can go Allmendinger at Roval. But if I don't, I think I need to go Allmendinger at Martinsville, where he's been good at it in the past.
Yep, he's been good at
and throw Byron at the Roval, where he's been good at in the past.
Mm-hmm. It's a very good point.
And it also, will if Byron needs to point race at the Oval just to ensure he gets in, he'll points race at the Oval, which will gain me stage points.
Yep.
So
that's what's fun breaking down.
I think it depends. I'm going to play. Well, I can't pencil the 2 in for Las Vegas, but I'll probably put Byron in at Las Vegas. And then I might switch Blaney and Cindric and Riley Herbst depending on what happens. So really the only thing I can pencil in is Suarez. But I think there's a couple scenarios depending on what happens this week. If I'm able to close the gap on you by like 20 plus points, since we have everything different other than AJ Allmendinger, I can still gain enough points on you in some of these final races, I think. It's not going to be easy, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, we saw at Bristol too. Speaking of history not repeating itself, I saved Larson for Bristol too, and he got me 5 points. That's all it takes is a couple of those bad races, and you're back in it. So
yeah.
All right, you got Suarez this week. I got Zane Smith, so we got a couple of mid to lower tier drivers for this week of 36 for 36. And now we're on to DraftKings.
DraftKings. I need to sign in, as always. All right. Cup. Man, this is a tough week for DraftKings. This is a tough week for DraftKings. Just because, like we talked about, the uncertainty and all that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a comment we got here. If you all think that it's wide open, sounds like a good DFS week.
Yeah, I agree with that. And especially when flags is going to be so important. I think it's going to be a great DFS week from that regard. I honestly don't know what to expect this week. Yeah, what a tough week. I really wanted to go Suarez, but he qualified here so well earlier this year. And then at Vegas, he qualified kind of poorly. So as you can tell, I like Suarez this weekend. Like those front row motorsports cars this weekend. So probably on one of them. Let me start at the top. I'm actually going to start with Ross Chastain.
Interesting. I was just thinking about him.
I think, man, this is tough because like you have to factor starting position into it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the Spire cars have qualified it kind of well. I mean, McDowell was on the pole for Vegas. And at Kansas, it was 11th and 12th for Spire with Haley and McDowell. Hosvar started 22nd. So they've had some speed on these qualifying sessions. I think at Texas, right, it was Hosvar on the pole. Charlotte, it was no Spire cars. It was Haley 13th, McDowell 15th, right? Like they qualify so well. I might need to pull up the qualifying order. I haven't really thought about that. Justin Haley goes out really early, like fourth car out. What time is qualifying this week? Because last time we were at Kansas, qualifying was so late in the afternoon that the order mattered so much. It's not as bad this time. It's 2:10 p.m. Eastern. So it's not really going to be, order's not going to be as important. But it could still matter a little bit. Give me Ty Gibbs.
Interesting.
I do think order will matter a little bit, and he goes out really early because he got, dumped. And then you're kind of just guessing on which big driver name team is going to hit it, right? Because you need those dominator points. So I'm going to pivot down to the bottom and see what I can get with big name drivers after that. Yeah, this is really tough. I will say I don't hate betting Michael McDowell for pole. He goes out relatively late. Or Carson Hocevar. I haven't seen odds. I'm just saying, like, if I'm just looking at order, McDowell and Hocevar are the two later Spires. Then you got all the playoff drivers, right? So given how good they've been at qualifying this year, I don't hate a bet on them if you get something like 30, 40 to 1 on them. But again, haven't bet anything like that myself yet. All right, I'll go with Zane Smith. He has a worse qualifying draw than Todd Gilliland or Noah Gragson. That leaves me 95-33 for 3 more drivers as an average. I'll take, I'm just going to play around with a couple options before officially deciding. It's like, how much do you want to trust in 2311, right?
Yep, that's the big thing because they're both decently priced.
Yeah.
Especially Reddick.
Yeah.
Reddick's been so good at intermediates this year as far as picking up fastest laps. He's picked up about 20 per race on intermediates this year.
And then the other call is like, what mid-tier driver do I go with to go with my 2 elite drivers? All right, I'm just going to go Larson, Reddick, Bowman.
You read my mind because I was thinking Bowman the entire time. All right.
I could have gone Busher, but then I would have had to pivot off Reddick onto like a Chase Briscoe or something like that, or move off Larson onto Hamlin or Blaney.
Yep. All right. You got Larson, Reddick, Chastain, Bowman, Gibbs, Zane Smith. I have a feeling I'm going to end up with something similar.
Yeah.
Just because same guys I've been eyeing. But I'll try to switch it up a little bit. My computer wants to go here. Why? This is not working at all. What is going on? There we go. All right. I'm with you on. I think I'm probably going to go Reddick. So actually, I'm going to go Briscoe to be different from Reddick. I do like Alex Bowman's price at 78, and then I like Ryan Preece at 69. Nice.
Yeah.
What?
I said, yep. Like, I agree with you on those.
I would go Zane Smith, but to be different, I'm going to go Gilly. And then I'm going to go. Oh, man. Actually, I am going to end up on Reddick. I'm going to go Reddick Blaney. So I'm going to go Reddick, Blaney, Briscoe, Bowman, Preece, Gilly.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was our scores last week and had averages and all that? Did I miss that? Or am I just an idiot?
Do you remember what your lineup was last week?
Oh, God, no. We'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look because I don't remember. Usually, like, I know it off of just looking at them, and I couldn't remember it. So the two scores were 289.6 and 208.5. The 289 was Bell, Blaney, Logano, Bowman, Nemechek, and Zane Smith. And then the other one was Bell, Hamlin. I think this was no, you went Josh Berry, didn't you?
I honestly have no idea.
I think you went with Josh Berry because I don't think I did. I don't know.
Read the full
the other
other
one was
lineup off.
Bell, Hamlin, Bubba, Berry, Jones, Gilliland.
That sounds more like mine.
I feel like I went. Sure. Yeah, I'll have to go back and look. I feel like I went Nemechek last week.
Yeah,
if I remember right.
That sounds more like mine. The second one.
Yeah. I think you're right, but yeah, I'll double check. I wasn't prepared for that this week, so
all good.
All right. You got anything else?
Yes. We got to do our quick 5-minute IndyCar talk.
Okay.
Because we got some betting angles coming up for the Indy 500 whenever they release odds. Usually the last 2 years, Caesars has been the first to drop odds in around Thanksgiving, a little after, maybe early December. Huge news in the IndyCar front. Not just Will Power going to Andretti, as we talked about, but the Indy NXT champion, which is like the Xfinity Series version of IndyCar, Dennis Hauger. He was an Andretti driver there. He's going to Dale Coyne Racing, which is one of the bottom tier teams, but he's on loan from Andretti. So he's still contracted with Andretti, on loan to Coyne. And now Andretti and Coyne have a technical alliance. The crazy thing is, the Indy Whisperer, the guy who has the magic setup for the Indy 500, he was with AJ Foyt Racing. Michael Cannon is the engineer. And Penske literally bought that setup from them and formed an alliance with Foyt just to get that setup. So they were even faster the next year at Indy, and Joseph Newgarden won. And the Penske's were all stupidly ridiculous fast. Well, Michael Cannon, after that year, left Penske went to Prema, brand new team. Prema got the secret sauce from Cannon, and they actually parted ways before the season even started. But clearly they got the secret sauce because Robert Schwartzman won the pole at 500 to 1 and had a solid race until things went sour late. Well, now Cannon is with Coyne. So now Andretti has access to the Indy special sauce setup, the magic stuff. Andretti has that technical alliance. And just this week, Andretti hired Ron Rzuski to be, I think like technical director, lead engineer, whatever you want to call it. But Ron Rzuski was one that got fired from Penske after the second Penske cheating scandal. And we know Penske's always been so damn good. So Andretti to win the Indy 500, whether it's Kyle Kirkwood, whether it's Marcus Ericsson, whether it's Will Power, maybe even Marco Andretti, maybe Colton Herta if he ends up in a one-off for the Indy 500. We haven't heard anything about that yet. But also Dennis Hauger to win the Indy 500. Because now, Dale Coyne is just Andretti light all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the Indy NXT champion. He blew everyone out of the water in Indy NXT. So some Indy 500 early angle bets for when odds are released late November, early December, hopefully.
That is wildly early, but I like it.
Hauger might be 500 to 1, or he might be like 300 to 1. I would instantly bet that if those were his odds.
Yeah.
And then you'll see Kirkwood in the 20s or 30s. You'll see Power probably in the teens. You'll probably get Marcus Ericsson in the 20s as well, maybe in the 30s. So I would bet all of this.
Nice. Oh, I didn't even notice your Kurt Busch shirt.
Yeah. Got my Kurt Busch shirt on.
Nice. Awesome.
So that was
all right.
We didn't whine about it, but that was IndyCar 5 minutes with RotoDoc presented by RotoBaller Wines.
There we go. Absolutely. All right. Link's whining for me to take him out. So
yes.
We will enjoy the race this weekend at Kansas, and we'll be back next week to talk about the Roval. See you guys.
See y'all.